Hello my friends, Furtado here, the Rebel Turner. The Rebel. I'm back for the weekend and sometimes we get out to the front of our lathe and we have no idea what we feel like doing for the day. And that's usually an indication that to go away and think about it and then come with a fresh mind or get some inspiration from other turners. So anyway, I went online and I was pulling up for maybe something that would strike me and motivate me enough to get my mindset away from all the other things that I want to do and focus on it. And I found something. Keeping in mind that we still have those mindsets in the back of our minds. But anyway, I saw this and it's like, wow, that is very interesting, but not necessarily in the way that it's being shown. I came across this turning, and I don't know who did it. It was on Pinterest, and I saw a couple of names of people on it, not YouTubers that I know at least. But it's like, wow, that would be a really cool and interesting project if I can keep it together. But the way that I want to do it, because this is a candle holder, you would set a tea light up there, I guess. And I don't know how the inside is. But I don't want that. I want it this way. So this part will be the base, and it will be hollowed up inside to roughly just this point. And we'll see how we work these out. Now the choices of woods, you should do that with a nice, dry, stable piece of wood, because those little rings, if they decide to go, it's going to make it a little bit disappointing if that gets in the way. So, not to take too much time talking about it, we're going to jump right in and turn something that is an experiment. And if it works, it should be pretty nice looking piece at the end of it. Bring it to the lathe. And what I got here is a piece of poplar. The poplar I picked up in North Carolina. It's a maybe 5-inch log by 5.5 inches by 12, but this is going to be trued up to the shortest point. It will end up being about 10 inches tall. It's mounted between centers the way that I normally mount. You will never see me, or you have never seen me using a faceplate or glue block or anything like that. I always start off between centers, a nice tight grip with my tailstock, really embed that live center into the wood, and make sure your spur drive is sunk in as well. And trust me, it is. I put a lot of pressure on my tailstock to now. Going to start this off with a roughing gouge and just going to true it up. Now, I was thinking of keeping the very base of it with the bark, but that's even pressing another issue. In other words, I was thinking I would make this natural edge, but it would only catch the very bottom ring of it, so it would defeat the purpose. So I'm going to true this up, make somewhat an hourglass shape, and then go from there. Of course, the first thing is to create a tenon. And I might even do it on both sides. It doesn't matter. If you got them on both sides, and then you decide which way you want to play with it. It takes a couple of minutes, you do it, and it's a step that could help you in the long run. So, can do this with the roughing gouge, or can do it with the carbide square cutter. It's whatever you choose you want to do. Start it up maybe at 800 RPM, 900 RPM. I'll see how wobbly it is. That's 700 RPM. That's good enough. So now that I got a nice round cylinder, it's time to start shaping this. And what's going to happen is you're going to imagine that this contour goes all the way down to here. You're going to imagine, but you're going to stop it halfway, this way. Can you see that? So come out from the outside edge, the furthest outside edge, into about 1 inch away from the bottom. And you're going to follow that straight line. So make it a cone, basically. When I get right about here, I want the bottom to be a little bit shorter than the top. No, I want it right about halfway. Right about here, I will start my rings. And they will be about 1/4 inch thick. Because this wood is green, and I know it's going to move on me. Now, when I get down to here, you have to imagine that this will be a foot coming out again to the widest point on this part over here. So when you see through it, you'll be seeing this cone continuing, and then this coming back out over here as rings, and the rings will complete the foot. That's the idea. That's what I'm hoping that it goes towards. So I will do this shape right here, full, this V shape, and forget that these lines even exist. And I'm going to use my bowl gouge for that. So what we're trying to achieve, I'm not looking for pretty cuts at this point yet, but what I'm trying to achieve is an imaginary line of this to here, or this to here. Equal coning. So if I kept going with this cone all the way in, I would end up right about here. If I come up with this cone all the way in, I will end up right about here as well. I can trim this down a little bit. It's being tapered in a little bit more than what the design shows. The angle should be very gradual on here, and I'm a little bit steeper. But then again, I might be taller with this piece than what is over there. Get a good tool, and I'm going to use my scraper to clean this up some. And go in here and start establishing the cuts, leaving about a 1/4 inch thickness with an imaginary line going through here. And once I get here, I will start building up the foot. and a little deeper here. And there's my round base, and there's my continuous line going up. So when you look at it, you see this as a continuous line up to here, and it curves back over. You don't see that on the camera very well. There we go. So this ring right here is a little oversized for this one, and you can see that it makes quite a step up, but the rest are pretty much going in about 1/4 of an inch from each other and maintaining this line that I got going through here. So just take my smaller parting tool and just clean up in there right now. Now I'm keeping these a little bit thicker than what the original has, because, like, you know, this is green wood and not, right now, not the best cutting wood. The more lines you put, the more defined the shape looks, as far as being able to see the transition of what's happening with the piece. So keep that in mind. If you make these really wide, then you're not going to see this much of a transition going over. And this is going to be all done with my bowl gouge, pretty much. Gonna go from inside, shear scraping outwards. And again, it's end grain this way, but when you're cutting from inside or from the outside, it's treated like a spindle turning, basically. Keep my tool rest a little bit below center when I'm doing this, because I like to keep the angle of my tool, the handle, on a downwards motion. So, ready to go in here. Speed 600 RPMs. $750. Now I could very well do cuts like I've shown, an end grain cut with my tail leaning in the direction that I want to go. But this is going to chatter a little bit. So the angle is about 2 o'clock with my flute. See what you can do as far as getting your tool rest as close as possible. See if you can sneak it up inside. Anything you can do so you don't extend your tool out as much is a huge plus and a safety. Just get it in there on an angle what you feel comfortable with. Make sure it doesn't hit, and go in there. Now you're not extending your tool quite as far. See that? My flute is almost upright. It's almost at 12 o'clock. And that way, if I go on this much upright, if you do get a catch, it will roll over slightly and kick out away from you because it won't grab on the top. So if you get a catch, it will do a slight roll and push away from the work. Okay, it will be nice to go in here a little bit deeper so this doesn't crack up on me. And the thickness, well, I'm getting a little thicker towards the inside, so I'm going to shear scrape this a couple of more times and make sure that I maintain the same thickness. Time to go in there with some Yorkshire grit and give this piece a finish. Part it off from the bottom, and we'll make it. So like I said, this piece, the original that was done as a tea light holder or a candle holder, and the candle would be on this end. Well, I'm making it as a vase, and this will be the base. Time to go in there and start parting it off, and that will be the last cut that I do on this piece. And the cutoff will be pretty much the same as the leaving it as thick as one of these pieces. So I'm going to go pretty close to the chuck. Here we are. Nice cut. Do a little sanding right here and finish it. Well, it turned out rather nice, I think. So the line from the top follows through until the base, and then the base starts picking up. The base is pretty well concaved, and the spacings look pretty good. They were just eyeballed, and the whole piece, I think, turned out pretty nice. It's different. It's not something that I do every day. I generally do a lot of things that capture a lot of the wood characters rather than focus on design. But every once in a while you're stuck, or you don't have a piece of wood, or you don't have the motivation, or you don't have whatever. Go find the motivation to do what you want to do, even if it's somebody else's work. It's quite okay to go out, and if you're inspired by something, to duplicate it. On this case, I almost duplicated it, because the design with a candle on the top, how it was originally intended, and I decided this is a vase, and this is the base. And it's got a nice flow through. I see that line going really well along the shape. If I can capture the angle just right, you can see that the line just follows down all the way, and then on the bottom it starts doing your bulge out for the base. It's a nice looking vase. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, do so. And if you like it, share it with your friends. And that's how the word gets around, and that's how it helps me a great deal with the subscription. And it just means that, you know, it shows that what I do, you know, it has a sense of purpose to the doing of this. Thanks again. I'll see you very soon. Probably post this one up from North Carolina. Take care.